Certainly.
When are you going for the vetting?
That has not been decided yet.
Okay.
We are going to be submitting our forms
Okay.
on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
This weekend.
Okay.
And that is tomorrow, and then the next. And then beyond that, the date for the vetting will be determined.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But first of all, I want to listen to why you. And I want to listen to the thought process that went into you deciding that I should put myself up to be one of the deputy general secretaries of the National Democratic Congress.
Okay, so ordinarily you should be a member of the party in good standing. You should have served the party for some time. You should understand the rudiments of political partyism.
Okay.
And then you should be adequate intellectually to want to become Deputy General Secretary for the NDC.
Okay.
Because it's quite daunting.
Okay.
And you must be ready for it. The specific question as to why I did make the decision, I think it is because I think I find myself having passed all of the points I raised.
Okay.
I am a party person. I think I've served the party for some time. I understand the processes of our party. And I think I am intellectually adequate.
Okay.
I have the physical presence to actually perform the function.
Okay.
And I think I understand what it means to be a deputy general secretary. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But so for those of us who are, because I must confess that your name is quite new to me. When you do this work over a period of time, we get to speak to a lot of people. So some of the faces are not familiar with, but yours I'm not so familiar with. So tell us a bit about who Paul is.
Okay. So Paul is a political science scholar.
Okay.
He is a management consultant, specifically a business process engineer, and a politician, of course. Social democrat kind of politician. And so basically this is who Paul is. I come from the Lower Manya constituency, Lower Manya Krobo constituency in the Eastern region.
Okay.
I have worked as the communication officer for that constituency. I also contended in the last regional elections for the same role, communication officer role. I have served the party on different assignments. Okay. Quite recently I was a supervising officer for the branch registration and elections at the Ekwapim North constituency. I was also a monitoring officer at the Buakwa North constituency. And so aside other things we have been doing for the party, and so yes, the structure doesn't allow everyone to come to the top and therefore occur at the top.
Okay.
The processes don't allow everyone to want to play at the center.
Okay.
But then there is so much work at every level of the party, and there should be people adequate enough doing them. Okay. And I think I happen to be one of the persons doing them by other means. Okay. And so yes, I've never been on Radio Gold, but I've been on other radio stations.
Okay.
I've been on other TV stations. And so we've done a lot of work for the party. Okay. The reason the party is still the party is because some of us are still down there, doing the work down there. Yeah, and I think that's what it is.
You said you contended to be a communications officer
for the Eastern region.
For the Eastern region. How did it go?
I lost that election.
Okay.
I lost that election, and it was interesting how I lost, but that's beautiful. The thing with democratic contests is that at the end, somebody goes home having lost. So that even if you win, remember somebody's going home having lost. So that if you lose, it is because someone has won. Okay, so there isn't anything special about winning and losing, because in the end, one person would have to prevail. Okay, so I think that contest, but it was beautiful, such that I made so many votes in that contest. And I think it was a validation of the capacity I went into the contest with.
Okay.
Yes, and so some of those things, and that makes the Eastern region my backbone in this contest. The whole of the Eastern region. If you speak with any constituency executive person, you speak with any regional executive person, they will tell you if it is Opata, then we understand. That thing. And so yes, that is how that particular contest went.
So you're particularly well known within the Eastern region.
Very well known. Very, very well known.
But you are competing for a national position. It is one thing to be maybe the qualifications and listening to you and everything, feeling that I am capable of doing this. Another thing to have put yourself in the position to actually contest and win.
Okay.
So I'm wondering what made you feel that this contest is one that you can jump into and win it?
Thank you very much, Sena. You see, the thing about being new is the reason for the campaign.
Okay.
So that you don't sit in your home to win elections of this nature.
Okay.
You get out there, make yourself known, because there is that need to get yourself known in all respects. All right. Your person, your intellectual capacity, your ability to think on your feet, and all of that will be put to some test as you get through, the campaign. Party people are very intelligent people, and they would want to see all of this in you. In the end, it is their determination of whether or not you have impressed on their minds to be having all of these qualities they want to see in their deputy general secretary that makes them vote for you. And so the most important bit, I've always told friends that there isn't anything like advertisement for a political product like a candidate.
Okay.
But there is everything about a campaign to advertise yourself.
Campaign is the best platform to
Yes,
advertise
that is
yourself.
how you make it happen. You don't go on TV and make advertise some products right now. You don't go and ask someone to do that for you. Get out there. Get heard, get seen, get felt. And then in the processes of being seen, being heard, and being felt, someone makes the decision that no, if it's about what we want done, then I think this is the right person. And I think that is what this process is about. The party, and you see, the beautiful thing about the NDC is that no one is special. We have it very much in the ideology of the party, the ideology that birthed the NDC, the social democratic ideology, egalitarianism. Some level of fairness, some equality in the eyes of everyone. And so you just need to say, I am here, and everybody pays attention that, oh, he's there. Okay, and then they tend to look. And so Paul is only saying, hey, party people, I am here. I am sure party people are turning and looking. And that is all there is to it. Right.
And you think there's a certain quality to be new in this race? How does that help you? Like, just one of those who are emerging, perhaps a lot of people who not have heard the name. What advantage does being new give you?
Okay. So being new means that you sat back for a long time. You've observed the processes for a long time. And you have identified certain things that whoever may have traditionally occurred within the space have not, been bringing to bear on the processes and prospects of the organization, of the party. And that is what being new, is all about.
Okay.
You bring what should be new, because you see, we are in the new times. Remember, this country has had 30 years of this democratic experimentation, and the 30 years haven't elapsed. Okay, so thankfully, the people of this country have given the NDC 2 8-year periods. They have given the NPP 2 8-year periods. And you know what the academics are saying? The democratic conduct so far has been good, but the developmental product has not been as good. Yeah. Okay, and so, those of us who occur within academia, occur within the private sector, have seen a lot, have heard a lot, and still belong to the NDC, we think, no, we must come into the space, partake in the processes, enhance the prospects, and possibly not just win elections for the NDC, but also make the NDC that new organization that makes everybody believe that NDC is our future. Because you see, currently Ghana is sitting on pins, and there will be no there wouldn't be that opportunity for a benefit of doubt for any political party that wins the next elections. Okay, so the NDC must not only win the next election, we must get into government with the orientation to make academia, the neutrals, and the very many Ghanaians who are currently, anxious, believe that there is something to make from the political class. Okay. And that is what Paul Bradi is saying. That is what I'm bringing to the party. We will need to not only just, so this is not some position grabbing exercise. No.
Okay.
This is the time for the NDC to bring together its best to undertake this project of making Ghanaians believe in our political system. There should be that renewal of hope for the Ghanaian people, that the political class, you see, the other time I was listening to Uncle Kwesi Pratt, and he gives some vivid account of the experiences of the earliest 70s, the late 70s, the earliest 80s, the cool circumstances this country experienced. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that whatever were the circumstances in 79 are the circumstances now. Mm-hmm. The only reason we are not experiencing any turmoil, let me just say that just a day or two ago, a friend of mine called me from Germany and was asking if we are experiencing riots. I mean, the question impressed on me some sense of urgency, and so we are just at that point of tipping into that circumstance that no one would be happy about. And that is why those of us in a political group like the NDC must understand that reassembling ourselves, reorganizing ourselves for the purposes of elections and possibly taking over governance of this country must be done in such a way that we don't make things worse for the already, anxious Ghanaians. Okay. And that is why Paul Opata Bradi is, the magic in the secretariat. You understand? The job of the Deputy General Secretary is ancillary to the responsibility of the General Secretary. Okay. And so it occurs at the behest of the General Secretary. Okay. But it requires that you are able to demonstrate the capacity to make suggestions on pertinent issues. It also requires that you are able to stand in for the General Secretary if he cannot be available everywhere or cannot even be available. Maybe he's outside the country. Can you play General Secretary for that short period that he is away? All those things are part of why the NDC must choose someone who has not just the inner but intellectual and presence capacity to be able to, support the general, watch the back, so to speak, of the General Secretary. The Secretariat of the NDC is the repository of, very important things. So whoever occurs within that space should also demonstrate integrity. And so the question of integrity should also be high on our minds as we move. You see, that sense of caution to say that, no, this is the only vehicle to rescuing Ghana. This is the only vehicle to making Ghana the sort of Ghana we want to be, the Ghana President Mahama has described as the better Ghana. And therefore I must not be responsible for destroying the vehicle, sinking the vehicle. That sense of caution must exist in whoever works in the secretariat of the party. Because he holds so much. And so, Paul Opata Bradi is one of those persons with that level of integrity to be trusted with information that we cannot play games with. And this is why Paul Opata Bradi is one of, those persons we must pay close attention to and in the end select to support the General Secretary to make our party that party we want to see.
What in your political career, what position, what have you done in the political that prepares you for the job of, because you describe it quite well, but in which capacity have you built that the set of skills that are needed to be Deputy General Secretary? Have you occupied a position?
Okay.
That makes you feel that within that position, I learned and I understood what it means to occupy a position as high as Deputy General Secretary.
Okay, thank you very much. If you look at my CV closely, Sena, You would have noticed that I did not just study political science for first degree. I did management and administration for second degree. Okay. And I also did political management, which then is the practice of politics, proper practice of politics. And that training prepares you with speech writing, political personality management, policy design, and all these are components of the work in the office of the General Secretary. Remember, the Secretariat is the environment within which our manifestos are designed. And the design of manifesto is policy. It's policy design. And so the training is there. Now, management, which is my area of expertise, is people. It's about people. Political partyism is about people. Management is about people development. Political partyism is about people development. You get it? So everything I have done as a matter of career prepares me to be able to not just manage the people of our party, but also develop them. Help to develop them. You know, political parties, one core responsibility or function of political parties is to help develop leaders, help groom leaders. And so whoever occur within the secretariat of the party and help in formulating the processes that, develop the party as an organization should bear in mind how that, engineering process helps develop the people of the party to become the kind of leaders that Ghanaians would admire and be proud of. And so my focus currently, and to answer your question specifically, and the reason I think I am best suited, I'm the one most prepared for this responsibility, is because my training prepares me, but then my practice as, a management consultant and a manager, prepares me to be able to handle this job of a deputy general secretary, because then I know how we position our party's constitution, for instance. Currently, there are a few things with our party's constitution that we must take care of if we really want to develop people into leadership. Okay. For instance, our party's constitution is quiet on behavior, so that the only provision in our party's constitution regarding behavior is a code of conduct or something. And if you look at the elements there, no, they are not saying anything. And so we will need to look at that. Maybe what we need are directional principles, and then core ethics. If you look at the SDP of Germany, this is a sister organization. It's also a social democratic group. And, we have a relationship with the SDP. The SDP is doing some of these things I'm talking about. And so the NDC must introduce, I'm talking about people management, people development into leadership and all of that. The reason Paul Bradi is the most qualified, the most prepared for this sort of responsibility is what I'm talking about. The future of the NDC should be one that is about preparing our people for leadership. So that when you find them in leadership, you see exquisiteness, leadership that is devoid of gluttony, like we see in the current government. You understand? And so leadership that is for the service of humanity, and that's what I'm talking about. Social democracy is about people. And so we don't measure government outcomes or governance outcomes in terms of the metrics. We look at the real impact of policy in the lives of people. All right, so that when you serve, you must understand that my service is for the improvement of the lives of people and not for self-aggrandizement, not for self-lifting or whatever. And this is what your party teaches you. All right, and so this is why the MDC must prepare the entire party system to be able to prepare party people, develop them to occur in this manner. And this is why Paul Opata Bradi is that different kind of guy.
If you're just joining us, Paul Opata Bradi is one of the persons who are putting themselves forward to be the Deputy General Secretary, one of two Deputy General Secretaries of the National Democratic Congress so far. And I was asking that question because as you speak, the people in the race, one of them is actually currently one of the incumbent Deputy General Secretaries. I've also seen two other people. One was a former regional secretary. The other is an incumbent regional secretary who wants to be a Deputy General Secretary. You can see from where they are coming from that they've already dealt with that kind of position. So maybe in the position to occupy that office. That's why I was asking you, within your own, the things you've gone through, whether you've occupied an office, that gives you an idea as to what to expect in that office.
Okay. Sena, the job of the National Secretariat of the NDC is a lot different from being a regional secretary. Let me start by that. Extremely different. Remember, as the regional secretary, you only listen to instructions and carry them out. In this new capacity as the deputy general secretary, you contribute so much towards a lot of decisions. You are coming to contribute towards decisions. The question is, do you have the capacity to do that? And that's what training does for you. All right? And so having studied political management, and I mentioned to you what it does, that, trains you to do so much, including become the topmost person in any political organization. And that is the capacity I'm coming with. It's so much. You understand? And so it puts country management within your purview. Okay. That is what political management teaches you. Puts country management within your purview. And so you can do so much. And that is what capacity I'm coming with. And so I respect my brothers and the sister whom you've mentioned. Barbara, lawyer Barbara, is a beautiful person. Not just in presence, but also in conduct. She's a beautiful person. And I, as a management consultant, believe in institutional memory. I also believe in experience. And so because she's already occurred once there, I always tell everybody, pay attention to her too. Even as you think of me. Because there are 2 slots. Okay? So I'm as selfless as that. I believe that lawyer Barbara, and she's a lawyer too. She puts the legal eye to most of the conducts of the secretariat. She makes that service readily available. But as we think about all of that, we're also thinking about other capacities, like policy design capacity. And that is what Paul Opata Bradi is bringing to the table, which is what most of my other colleagues cannot, claim to have. And that is what I'm talking about.
You have to sell this to the grassroots.
Certainly.
In fact, they are the ones who will vote.
Certainly.
Have you had the opportunity of interacting with some of them, and how are they responding to this?
I've talked with a lot of party people, a lot of delegates, and I can tell you for a fact they think this is the new day of the NDC. That is what they tell me. Paul Opata Bradi is the new day of the NDC. And I think by the time I'm done with my campaign across the country, that wave of the new day would have been everywhere.
The new day of
the new day of the NDC would have been everywhere. And that's what we're talking about.
And that's what you're selling to them?
That is what I'm selling to them.
Share with us the message you're carrying to them.
Okay. So, because
there's a difference speaking to me the way you are talking to me.
Okay.
And going down and having a conversation with them about their party that a lot of them may have been serving for a long time.
Okay, so currently we are all minded about the fact that very soon we're going into national elections. And the question we all have on our minds is if the NDC as a party is ready.
Okay.
And so the question now for any manager of the party is if we are ready or if we will be ready for the time. How do we get ready? Is the message I share with them. And one of those ways we get ready is to ensure that as we engage in this reorganization exercise with a lot of elections at all the levels, and then we come to experience fallouts as a result of the elections. Certainly, disputes come about from elections. The first exercise of any elections winning party would be to make sure all the disputes at all the levels are taken care of.
Okay.
And this is what the Secretariat should set itself to doing immediately the reorganization process is over. So then...
dealing with disputes.
Yes. We must make sure there is harmony, there is order, everything as such restored to the various levels of the party. That is the one way you make the machinery of the party ready to engage. Then, of course, you must have your elections management plan. All right? You can't go into elections without a plan. And then you should have a strategy to operationalize the plan. Okay, so these are the various things that And the things I tell them about the plan and the strategy, I can say on air, of course. Because then I would be telling the MPP what I think we should be doing, and that doesn't keep us safe. And so that's about it. There's so much more that, we can't. There is the specific circumstance of how we take the economy from where it is now. Because I'm telling you, any economy that is killing people, it's like a ravaging war. The sort of anxiety a ravaging war gives you is the sort of anxiety this economy is giving us now. How the NDC could pull the country out of the current situation of people's minds to that mind of confidence and hope is something I share with them too. And so, I just demonstrate to party people that it's not just about post grabbing, it's about putting our best to the game. Yes. And so it's basically about putting our best to the game.
And
that's
response?
What I tell them. Their response. No, you see, when you have someone send you a text message, for instance, to say, I wish to have you visit our constituency in the capacity of a deputy general secretary, then you should know the person is already feeling the dream of you becoming deputy general secretary. And I think that is more than just some response. That's a lot. Yes.
Do you think the time is right for you?
The time is a little even late. The time is a little late. Maybe I should have been deputy general secretary 4 years ago.
You should have contested to be deputy general secretary 4 years.
Yes. And that's why I think the timing now is super right. You understand? Because if I had done that, maybe I would have done so much to the party. There is this challenge we currently are faced with as a political party, communicating our performance and our manifestos. So, for instance, in 2016, which is what I do, all right, by my training, that's what I do. In 2016, President Mahama did so well with the infrastructure of this country. And all we needed to do was to tell the people of this country the role of infrastructure in any economy. But because we failed to say that, the MPP threw the question of whether infrastructure is what we're going to eat, and that question won. All right? And so there are the three basic functions of infrastructure in any economy. Infrastructure basically, facilitates economic activity, it sustains economic activity, and contains economic activity. If you understand these three, then you will know infrastructure is what makes economies resilient. And because our infrastructure bit is not very much what it should be, is the reason our economy is partly why our economy is caving in. What we are, apart from the mismanagement from the Akufo-Addo administration, and so there are those things that I can understand and bring to bear on most of the things we are doing that I think my colleagues. So you see, this world is not about it's not about knowing everything. It's about the angle from which you look at things.
Okay.
And the usefulness of that angle to the timing of your circumstances. And this is why I think the best timing for Paul Opata Bradi to occupy that office of the Deputy General Secretary is now. Because we are going to be put, in 2020, for instance, we put forth one of the best, most social democratic manifestos in the entire history of the NDC in this country. Communicating the manifesto became an issue. All right? And so, you see, if you want to win an election against the NPP, you don't win with 200,000. They will look for it. They will look for the 200,000 in the Ashanti region and they will find it. You don't win with 500,000. Win with 1 million. They can't find it in the Ashanti region. You understand? And how you win with 1 million is through the campaign. How convincing your message is. That manifesto should have won us that election. And yes, we say we won that election. It is true. Okay? Or could be true. But maybe we didn't win with such a convincing margin that should, make it impossible for anyone with, bad dreams to want to steal it from us. All right? And so what I bring to this conversation about who should be the next Deputy General Secretary is the issue about, designing our, assisting our communication to communicate our manifestos in such a way that make people understand that what the NDC's approach to managing Ghana is what makes Ghana develop. All right? And so this is the right time for that to happen. We can worry about what the EC does later. For now, it is about putting our machinery, which is the party itself, in the right form and shape, and then ensuring that we have the best set of persons to put our issues out there. All right? The populace keeps asking what our alternatives are. What our alternatives are. Between when this question started and now, until President Mahama spoke, we've been quiet. I think that is not right. Okay? That is not right. The party, should be trumpeting what our alternatives are right from the beginning of this tenure of President Akufo-Addo, because we already saw the mess from the last tenure. It's some wonder how he became president again. You understand? And so the pain and the urgency with all of this should have gotten us to talking about it. Not just, when you take the game of debating their performance to them, they can talk you out of the thought. But when you take your alternative to them, then you put them in a situation where they debate with you at that level of the competition. So we are not making the debate competitive enough. We must send our alternatives to the discussion table. We must make them feel what we are bringing. One of those things we are bringing is to make sure the infrastructure of our economy is sound enough. Let me tell you, there are 3 things that should be the objective of any political party wanting to develop a developing economy like ours. The first thing is to ensure that you institute a sound revenue mobilization, capacity. You must demonstrate to have that. The second bit is to ensure that you have a capital system. Your capital is adequate. You have demonstrated adequate capital capacity. That is in your investments and your infrastructure. Your strategic investments and your infrastructure. You must ensure that they are adequate. The third bit is to ensure that you have a plan to socio-economically re-engineer your population. Realign your population. Because it is only when you realign your population that you could have the population generate the resources you need. If you keep too many people below the poverty bar, then of course your population is a consuming and a non-productive population. Then you put some excessive burden on government. You understand? If you pay attention to realigning your population, then you should also pay attention to, the businesses that make up the economy. Recently, I read the document, the policy document the GA is using, and I saw the diagnosis put to the businesses of this country as non-comprehensive. For instance, they mentioned, maybe we'll make that conversation for I don't know how much time we have. But the point I'm trying to make is that there is so much the NDC has said already in the 2020 manifesto that is alternative enough to the mess we are seeing now. Let me tell you, this government came in deliberately to derail the progress made by President Mahama. All right? So there are the 3 things that any future government must pay attention to and possibly bring. Currently, I am suggesting that we make bad governance punishable by law.
Bad governance punishable
Yes, punishable by law. Currently, we don't have any such law that punishes bad governance. We have laws that punish causing financial loss to the state and all of those other things. But then bad governance, and you can determine bad governance. Let me tell you the 3 things this government did that makes the governance they have offered Ghanaians bad governance. See, there is the illegality with the processes. Okay. There is the mischief with the processes, and then there is the incompetence with what they did as governance. Okay. The illegality is the deceit with managing the accounts of the country. The deceit. And when you engage in deceitful accounting, that is illegal. Okay. All right? And so Yoko will come after you ordinarily. And there are 2 reasons people would, there are 2 of many reasons people would want to engage in deceitful accounting. Possibly because you want to evade tax. Or you want to, borrow when you are not eligible. All right? So if Ken Oforiatta, for instance, hid our liabilities just so he could continue to borrow, that is illegal. Can he be punished for it? That's deceitful accounting. If there's any fixed amount of money that any entity, including countries, could get at any given point in time, and that is why we budget. Budget is planning to say that this is the total amount of money I project to have, and this is the lineup. This is the lineup of activities I intend to put that cash spending. I intend to put that cash to. When your strategic spending requires that you spend more, then you have a deficit. Then you borrow to provide for the deficit. All right, but it should be for the good reason. Now, if these people kept borrowing, and they borrowed because they are prepared to spend it wastefully because if you look at goods and services, the allocation for goods and services for this government, right from 2017 till now, you would wonder what they use the allocation for. Okay. All right? So this government is a consuming government. You look at the size of government, that ordinarily should tell you that this government is a consuming government. And is that why they are borrowing? That is mischief. All right? That is mischief. That is not incompetence. That is deliberate attempt to spend state money in ways that are not right. That is mischief.
We can have a conversation on the country, but everything you've put forward so far, what makes you think the best position to be able to put all these things to work is to be deputy to the General Secretary?
You know, when you are deputy to the General Secretary, you, like I said, contribute towards the discussions of pertinent issues. Okay. All these I'm referring to them because these are issues that require reasoning, good thinking, quality understanding to be able to contribute towards the discussion. You understand? And so I mentioned them just so we understand and know. Paul Opata Bradi is not just another occupier of the position of the, want to occupy the position of the Deputy General Secretary. He actually is coming in with thinking, understand, knowledge that is profound. You understand? And so I went that, broad because I felt it is important that we understand it's not some post-grabbing exercise. No. And it shouldn't be because Ghanaians will not forgive us if we put forth persons who cannot demonstrate to understand how to re-steer the country onto the pathway of progress. That's correct.
But to what extent? Because one of the things you need to be a deputy, sometimes you have great ideas in your mind. Perhaps your boss may not be so amenable to listening to, maybe listen, but your ideas or great ideas will never get anywhere because your boss believes his way is the only way. Have you prepared your mind for that? That you may just be reduced to, like you say, taking instructions and acting on them?
It should be difficult for any boss, especially in the context of a political party boss, to want to play one on top, because then you see little, you hear little, and can do little, because it is about how much you hear, how much you know, how much you see, that determines how much you react to. And so I believe that the three persons that have put themselves forth are persons I know very well, and they are all that open door people.
Okay.
And I am positive, and it's the reason I feel enthused about what I'm doing, because I know it will work. They are all very, very intelligent people. Very objective people, and I know that working with them will not make it difficult for some of these opinions to be heard. That is to start with. But then even if it happens that it is not taken, your piece of advice remains just an advice.
Okay.
It is just an advice. And how do you think that whatever you say or what you say should be taken? How could you, from that ancillary position, expect that? How could you even think that way of your boss? What he says is indeed what he says, and that is what should be done. It takes time for people to develop confidence in the people who work under them. And so maybe what you are suffering under your boss might not necessarily be some sense of autocracy. It might be that period of time he is needing to, that incubationary period, to actually understand who you are and possibly accept that, your suggestions are indeed suggestions, and he develops confidence in them and in you for that matter, and begins to take them. And I think I've worked with a lot of bosses who are like that, and so I am used to things like that.
Out of the three, you said, all, and I like the way you said all three of them.
Yeah.
You find all of them having the quality to entertain other ideas. Do you have a favorite?
I like them all. I think that's why I admire the NDC, because you see the three persons who have put themselves forth to be elected as general secretary are all extremely intelligent, extremely capable, and it's difficult when you have such a situation to have some preference.
Okay.
They are also adequate, and I will be very, very honored to work under any of them. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I want to thank you for coming in, and the vetting will be coming up after you filed. So this tomorrow, when are you submitting your nomination forms?
I'm around midday. I've got another radio engagement in the morning hours, and so around midday, I should have submitted. By midday, I should have submitted my.
And then, and then the active campaigning starts.
Certainly.
Prepared for going around Ghana?
I have done a lot more than going around Ghana. I actually have worked for organizations that made me run around West Africa, and so.
Oh, so
I'm used to traveling. Yeah, traveling a lot.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. But let me seize the opportunity to say hello to all our delegates, party people across the country, particularly delegates, and then my regional executive for hopefuls. I want to wish them the best of luck in the elections, and Sena, I'm very grateful to you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Paul Opata Bradi is an aspirant to the Deputy General Secretary position of the National Democratic Congress. Wonderful to meet you. And I hope we get to speak again.
Thank you so much.
I hope we get to talk again before the elections. That takes us to 58 minutes past 9 on the Gold Morning Conversation. 2 minutes to hand over to the King of Mid-Morning, Ochame Bajwimba. Before we do, let me remind you that, of course, Hard Builders Real Estate is the place to go to if you want to buy land. Because